Hello all. Today I'll show you how to install a 94 geo prism cluster with tack to your dash and do it the correct way. Notice there's some people that tried to explain it to you, but they failed to show you some things that you should know with a common guy. Now the reason I replaced this particular model is because I have my tack, I have my temperature gauge and my gas gauge, but for some reason on this model my speed meter won't work. I replaced all three capacitors that go into my speed meter. Won't do it. It tried to work for a few days, but then something happened. Now my odometer works just fine. Both of the numbers work, but yet can't seem to get this needle to do what it's supposed to do. I took it apart and I replaced the caps. It ran for a little bit and then it just quit again. So like everybody else, I thought, well, maybe something else is. Well, problem is I done replaced the speed sensor on my car, which is on the engine, rather, transmission, whatever you want to call it, but that's where it's at. So I know it's not that. So it had to be here. Well, I did do that. I replaced the entire cluster, and what do you know? The brand new cluster works better than my old cluster, and my speed meter actually works correctly. It gives me the correct amount of speed. So that wasn't the issue. What the issue is inside of my speed meter on this old model here. So I could have spent the money to go out and replace the parts that needed to be done, which in my case I don't have a multimeter, so to first buy a brand new multimeter anywhere from $15 to $25 for that alone just to test the parts, then buy all the other parts that it might have need to work. Well, the simple thing is that when I bought another used cluster just like this one, which is in my car, it only costed about $30 online. Most junkyards have them for about that price. So that was the easiest solution. And that's how I advise most people to do it, because if you don't know a whole lot about cars, this would be the easiest route to do so. So there's my reasons, and maybe you're doing the same thing I'm doing and trying to figure out what you should do. Well, that was my answer to the solution, and it was a good answer because this is the used one that I bought online for 30 bucks, and it works better than what this one does. I mean, I've got this one, and this one, but this is the most important one in my opinion, that we know how fast you're actually going. Just would not work. I would often have to use an app on my cell phone. That way I would know how to stay the right speed limit. So there's that. Now I will show you how to install this thing into your car. Okay, now before you can actually replace your cluster in your car with a new or used one that you've bought, you first have to take it out of your dash. And as you can see, there's this piece right here where it's got two screws right here that you have to take out first. Once you unscrew them, this thing is pretty easily to come out. As you can see, you can just take your finger and pry loose right here. And do the same thing on this end and pry loose, and then it'll pop right out like that. And then when you do that, you can see it's got a lot of give right there, and then the top section comes right loose with it. And as you can see, you just give it a little bit of a push, and then it'll come right loose. And as you do, all you do is you just flip it up over your dash just like this, and then you just take it loose. And then you look back down here and there's your cluster. Now normally, which I haven't put the new screws in there yet because, well, one, I was trying to find my old ones. But what you basically do, there's your screw right here that goes. Down here's one. Right there's one. And there would be one right here, except for the fact that it's busted on this one, which is not a big deal. But, yeah, that's how that goes. And these things are fairly simple to unhook and hook back up. But basically all you do once you've taken your screws out, all you do is you just push it loose like so, and you want to turn it up sideways like what I'm doing right here. And the reason you want to do that, because then you have an easy access port to the white and the blue on this side. And these are real simple to take off. I mean, all you do is come right up here, and there's a little latch right here at the top. You just grab it like this. See how I'm doing? Grab it like that, and it pushes right out. And then to reinstall, you just plug it in like that. You do these two like that first, and then once you've done that, you lay it back down, come around to the other side of the cluster on this side, and then you'll have the other white one, which is right here. And then you unplug it, plug it back in, and that includes your cluster. Once you've done that, you take it, turn it back face up, just like I'm doing, and then there it is. It's set back in its spot, just like it is. Once you've done that, you put your screws back in, and then you can call it a pretty piece, which is what I pretty much do, and you just take it, and you put it right back in, just like it came out. And then that completes your entire mission, which puts it back together the way it should be, and then voila, you're in good shape. And don't forget to make sure you put the screws back into your chassis, pretty piece, which is what I call it, and then that completes it, and then it's done. It's working. There's no more to do to that. Now, I showed you all that to show you all this. On the back of these clusters, there's not a whole lot that's really that important. You got 3 mains and a side over here that light up the entire thing. Okay, now these aren't hard to do. These are fairly simple to work. I mean, it looks like it's a lot, but it's really not. I mean, the bottom line to all this is that you got a bulb here, 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 and here. This one lights up the area where your gas gauge is, and the rest of them do the rest of the display. These little black lights that you see are just individual gauges that show like your check engine light, or that your gas is running low, or your temperature gauge, or something to that nature, signal lights, things to those natures. Then you got your little chip right here that computerize everything and get it running. But that's the bottom line. So if you do have an old cluster that you've just recently replaced it with, keep your old bulbs, because you just never know when these things might come in handy and you might need to use it. And you can even do the same thing with the entire chassis. You can take it apart and use different pieces, like this faceplate right here. See these little grooves right here? You just push all these out, take your little tiny screwdriver and push every last one of them out, and this plastic will come loose, and then you can use that. And this is fairly simple. See, like right here, you can just push it out with your finger on the top side and on the bottom side, and see how that comes right loose? You can take all these parts off of this, and if you ever need to replace it of the life of the car, you can just put it on the other one, and then you will have it. That's done. So that was the video on how to replace your cluster for a 94 Geo Prizm. It may work for a 92 and a 93 and a 95 all the way up to a 97. I'm not sure, but I know for a fact that it works for the 94 Geo Prizm.